Goodness. Alex, grabe. Congratulations. Ha, grabe yung laban. Kwento mo sa amin, ano nangyari after the first set? Anong sinabi mo sa sarili mo?
Stop everything. Put the remote down. Step away from whatever you were doing. Because what just unfolded in Miami is the kind of thing that gets replayed in documentary footage 20 years from now, the kind of thing that people will claim they watched live even when they did not. This was not tennis. This was a coronation nobody scheduled. Eala just walked into the Miami Open, found Magda Linette standing in her way and dismantled her. Not barely. Not luckily. Surgically. With the calm of someone who has been preparing for exactly this moment since before most of the tennis world bothered to learn how to pronounce her name. The Philippines has produced athletes. It has produced heart and grit and competitors who made the world pay attention. But what Eala is doing right now exists in a different category entirely. This is not a feel-good story. This is a takeover. Understand who Linette is before you dismiss the magnitude of what happened. Magda Linette is not someone you break. She has stood inside the pressure cooker of Grand Slam semifinals and held her nerve. She has beaten players ranked inside the top 10 when it mattered. She has been in the fire and she has not flinched. Beating Linette means something. It means you brought your absolute best and then went one level beyond that. Eala went 2 levels beyond it. From the first exchange, the dynamic was wrong for Linette. Wrong in a way she could not correct. Eala was not adjusting to the match. The match was adjusting to her. Her ground strokes were landing with an authority that had no business coming from someone this young. Her decision-making was not reactive. It was premeditated. She knew where the ball was going before Linette had even made contact. That is not athleticism. That is mastery. And here is what makes the tennis establishment genuinely uncomfortable right now. Eala is not peaking. She is not riding a hot week. The ranking points are climbing. The wins are stacking. The level is rising with each tournament, each round, each match. What you are watching is not a flash. It is a trajectory with no visible ceiling. The draw opens up. The stakes rise. The names on the other side of the net get bigger. She is not slowing down. The world is not ready for what comes next. And that is not a prediction. That is a diagnosis. Because when you trace the arc of what Eala has been building, quietly, methodically, without the fanfare that players with half her talent receive simply because they were born on the right continent or trained inside the right academy system, you start to understand that this Miami run is not an accident. It is the inevitable product of years of work that most people refuse to take seriously until now. Let that land. The media that ignored her. The rankings that undervalued her. The pundits who filled airtime talking about the next European starlet or the next American teenager while Eala was in the practice courts putting together a game that has no obvious weakness and at least 3 obvious weapons. She was building in plain sight and they looked away. They always look away until they cannot anymore. And now they cannot anymore. The crowd in Miami felt it before the scoreboard confirmed it. There is a specific kind of energy that fills a stadium when something historic is tilting on its axis. It is not loud at first. It is electric and quiet simultaneously, a collective holding of breath, a dawning recognition spreading through the stands that what they are witnessing is not routine. That energy was present from the second set onward. Linette could feel it too. You could see it in the way she bounced the ball before her serve. Once, twice, 3 times. The ritual of a player searching for something she could not locate. Eala gave her nothing to find. What makes her dangerous beyond the strokes and the footwork and the tactical intelligence is something that cannot be coached into a player. It is the absence of fear in moments designed specifically to produce it. Match points. Tight games. Pressure situations where the body wants to tighten and the mind wants to protect instead of attack. Eala attacks. Every single time. She plays the big points like they are the ones she has been waiting for, not the one she is hoping to survive. The next round is coming. The bracket is not getting easier. The opponent waiting on the other side has more experience, more ranking points, and an entire tournament's worth of momentum behind her. She does not know what is coming for her. This is where the story gets dangerous. Because there is a version of this narrative that the tennis establishment would prefer to tell. The comfortable version. The one where Eala's run gets acknowledged with polite applause, where her wins get framed as overachievement rather than expectation, where the coverage circles back to the familiar names and the familiar storylines and treats what she is doing as a charming detour from the main road. That is the version they would prefer. Controlled. Contained. Filed under inspiring underdog and moved past quickly. That version is no longer available. What Eala has done in Miami has crossed a threshold that cannot be uncrossed. Wins at this level against opponents of this caliber do not get quietly shelved. They enter the permanent record. They shift how opponents prepare. They shift how coaches game plan. They shift what the seedings committee has to acknowledge the next time rankings are calculated. Every win she collects from this point forward is not just a result. It is leverage. It is evidence. It is one more piece of an argument that is becoming impossible to argue against. And the financial reality underneath all of this is not small. Prize money at this level of the tournament is life-changing for a player still establishing herself. Ranking points at this stage of the Miami Open push players into seeded positions at future draws, which means easier early rounds, which means more matches played at full energy, which means deeper runs, which means more points, more money, more recognition. The compounding effect of a run like this extends far beyond the current week. Eala is not just winning matches. She is restructuring her entire professional trajectory in real time. The opponents who remain in this draw have been watching. That is not speculation. That is the nature of professional sport at this level. Every player still alive in the bracket has a coach, has a team, has a preparation process, and right now some portion of that process is dedicated to understanding what Eala does and how to stop it. They are watching the footage. They are identifying patterns. They are drawing up plans. And here is the terrifying part. The plans they are drawing up are based on the player she was last week. She's already different. She's already better. She improves with every match, every round, every high-pressure moment that would break a lesser competitor and instead becomes fuel for this one. The next match is not just a match. It is a reckoning. And nobody on the other side of that net is truly prepared for what walks out when Eala decides it is time. The court is set. The moment is here. What happens next will not be forgotten. Remember this name. Not because someone told you to. Not because an algorithm pushed it into your feed or a sponsor decided she was marketable or a broadcaster needed a storyline to fill airtime between commercial breaks. Remember it because you are watching something that happens once in a generation, and the people who recognize it early are the ones who get to say they saw it coming before the rest of the world caught up. Eala is not arriving. She has arrived. The distinction matters enormously. Arrival means the journey is complete. It means the destination has been reached. It means the work of becoming is finished and what remains is simply the work of performing at the level already achieved. But that is not what this is. What this is feels more like the moment a rocket clears the launch tower. The hard part, the dangerous part, the part where everything could still go wrong, is behind her. What lies ahead is altitude. What lies ahead is speed that compounds on itself. What lies ahead is a trajectory that the people who doubted her do not have the mathematics to calculate because they never believed the launch was real in the first place. They believed. They just believed too late. The history of women's tennis is lined with players who had the talent and never found the moment. Players who peaked in practice and dissolved under match pressure. Players who won at the junior level and never successfully made the translation to the professional game, where the margins are razor thin and the opponents have no mercy and the schedule grinds you down before you even realize it is happening. The transition from promise to performance is where careers go to die quietly. Eala did not die quietly. She did not die at all. She went through the transition period and came out the other side sharper, harder, more dangerous than anything the junior results suggested was possible. The players who faced her in those earlier stages of her development did not face this version. Nobody has faced this version for very long. She is still becoming, and she is already beating players who are fully formed. Think about what that means. Think about the ceiling that implies. Inside the locker room right now, the conversations are shifting. The body language is shifting. The way veterans look at draw sheets is shifting when her name appears in the bracket. That quiet recalibration that happens when the tour collectively acknowledges that a new power has entered the room, that process is underway. It cannot be stopped. It cannot be reversed. The acknowledgement has begun. Outside the locker room, the fans are finding her. Not the casual fans who follow whoever is winning. The real ones. The ones who study the game, who understand shot selection and court positioning and the geometry of professional tennis at the highest level. Those fans have been watching Eala, and they have been telling anyone who would listen, and now the audience is expanding rapidly because the results are undeniable and the style is magnetic and the story is the kind that sport produces once and then references forever. She plays again soon. The opponent has a game plan. The opponent has experience. The opponent has reasons to believe she can handle whatever Eala brings to the court. Every single one of those reasons was constructed before today, before Miami, before Linette, before the world watched and could no longer look away. The court does not care about game plans built on outdated information. The court only cares about what happens when the ball is in play and the pressure is real and the moment demands everything you have. Eala has everything. The question that nobody can answer yet, the question that makes this unmissable, is exactly how much everything turns out to be. We are about to find out. The pressure is about to become something different entirely. Because everything that has happened up to this point, the wins, the momentum, the shifting conversations inside the locker room, the fans finding her, the veterans recalibrating, all of it has been building toward a weight that very few athletes ever have to carry and even fewer carry well. It is one thing to be the hunter. It is another thing entirely when the hunting has been so successful that suddenly you are also the hunted. That transition happens fast in professional sport. One day you are the unknown quantity that nobody has properly prepared for. The next day you are the name on every coach's whiteboard with arrows and annotations and tactical countermeasures designed specifically to stop what you do. Eala is crossing that line in real time. And here is what makes her different from the players who have reached this moment and faltered. Most players who arrive at this threshold have one weapon that carried them here. One shot that opponents eventually learn to neutralize. One pattern that gets scouted and broken down and taken away until the player has nothing left to hide behind. The tour is ruthless in that process. It finds the single load-bearing wall and it demolishes it and watches the structure collapse. There is no single load-bearing wall in Eala's game. Her serve has pace and placement working simultaneously. Her forehand generates angles that should not be geometrically possible from the positions she creates them. Her backhand does not break down under sustained pressure the way opponents need it to. Her movement is not reactive scrambling. It is anticipatory positioning, arriving at the ball early enough to be offensive instead of defensive, turning situations that should be defensive into platforms for attack. And underneath all of it, governing every decision, is a tactical mind that processes the match faster than the match moves. You cannot take one thing away and watch her unravel. You have to take everything away simultaneously. And nobody has figured out how to do that yet. The coaching teams studying her footage right now are discovering this problem in real time. They are finding that every solution they identify creates a new vulnerability somewhere else on the court. Closing one door opens another. The geometry of her game is designed, whether intentionally or instinctively, to punish the correction as much as the original mistake. That is not a game that was assembled quickly. That is a game that was constructed over years with an understanding of how the highest level of professional tennis actually works. Not how it works in practice sessions. Not how it works against opponents ranked outside the top 50. How it works when the player across the net is equally talented, equally prepared, and equally desperate to win. She has been preparing for opponents she had not yet faced. She was ready before the matches existed. And now the matches exist and the preparation is proving itself point by point in front of an audience that grows larger with every round. The Filipino fans who have been carrying this story for months before the mainstream discovered it are watching with a particular kind of emotion that sits somewhere between pride and vindication. They knew. They were told to be patient. They were told to temper expectations. They were told that the jump from junior success to professional dominance was long and uncertain and littered with examples of players who never made it. They kept watching anyway. They are still watching. And what they are seeing right now in Miami is everything they believed was coming delivered ahead of schedule and with an authority that even the most devoted supporter could not have fully anticipated. The next match is hours away. The opponent is preparing. The coaches are working. The game plans are being finalized with the desperate precision of people who understand that getting this wrong is not just a loss. It is a statement. It is an acknowledgement sent across the tour that the new power in the draw cannot be handled, cannot be contained, cannot be stopped by conventional means. Somewhere in that preparation there is doubt. There is always doubt when the evidence keeps pointing in one direction and that direction is not toward you. Eala is not doubting anything. She has already seen the next match in her mind and she has already won it there, and now she is simply waiting for the physical version to confirm what she already knows. The court opens soon. The world is watching. This is the moment everything gets decided.